Anyway, but oh, we're recording now. But I just want to say, honestly, and I'm not just saying this as a formality, it is really good to see you all. So really happy to be here with you guys. All right, so today it's Canto 4, Chapter 29, Text 34. So, Nai Kantata Pratikaraha. Oh, sorry. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Devyam Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tojayam Udirayat.
Tojayam Virayat.
Nastapreshu Bhadreshu.
Nastapreshu Bhadreshu.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya.
Bhagavati Utamashloke.
Bhagavati Utamashloke.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishiki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishiki.
All right. Before we send the Shema Bhagavatam, we must offer our obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the Supreme Human Being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely eradicated, and loving service unto the Personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs is established as a reliable fact. All right, so now we can start the chanting of the verse. Naikantata Pratikara.
Naikantata Pratikara.
Karmanam Karma Kevalam.
Karmanam Karma Kevalam.
Yavyam Hyavidyo Pashritam. Swapne Swapna Ivagnaga. Naikantata Pratikara.
Yeah, he just read it.
Karmanam Karma Kevalam.
Well, I mean, he's doing that.
Dhyayam hi vidyo pashritam. Swapne Swapna Ivagnaga. Please chant.
Naikantata Pratikara.
Naikantata Pratikara.
Karmanam Karma Kevalam.
Karmanam Karma Kevalam.
Yam Yavidya Pastram. Swapne Swapna Ivanaga.
Swapne Swapna Ivanaga.
Naikantata Pratikara.
Naikantata Pratikara.
Karmanam Karma Kevalam.
Karmanam Karma Kevalam.
Yam Yavidya Pashristam.
Dvayam Yavidya
Pashristam.
Swapne Swapna Ivanaga.
Swapne Swapna Ivanaga. Naikantata Pratikara.
Naikantata Pratikara.
Karmanam Karma Kevalam.
Karmanam Karma Kevalam.
Avyam Yavidyo Pashritam.
Dvayam Yavidya Pastram.
Swapne Swapna Ivanaga.
Swapne Swapna Ivanaga.
All right. Is that Uncle S back there?
Yeah, he ran away, but he's here.
Horrible. Okay, word for word. Na.
Na.
Never.
Never.
Ikantata.
Ikantata.
Ultimately.
Ultimately.
Pratikara.
Pratikara.
Counteraction.
Counteraction.
Karmanam.
Karmanam.
Of different activities.
Of different activities.
Karma.
Karma.
Another activity.
Another activity.
Kevalam.
Kevalam.
Only.
Only.
Davyam.
Davyam.
Both.
Both.
He.
He.
Because.
Because.
Avidya.
Avidya.
Due to illusion.
Due to illusion.
Apashritam.
Pashitam.
Accepted.
Accepted.
Swapne.
Update.
In a dream.
In a dream.
Swapna.
Now.
A dream.
A dream.
Eva.
Eva.
Like.
Like.
Anaga.
Naga.
O you who are free from sinful activities.
Oh, you are free from sinful activities.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Narada continued, O you who are free from all sinful activity. No one can counteract the effects of fruitive activity simply by manufacturing a different activity devoid of Krishna consciousness. All such activity is due to our ignorance. When we have a troublesome dream, we cannot relieve it with a troublesome hallucination. One can counteract a dream only by awakening. Similarly, our material existence is due to our ignorance and illusion. Unless we awaken to Krishna consciousness, we cannot be relieved of such dreams. For the ultimate solution to all problems, we must awaken to Krishna consciousness. And is it okay if I skip the repeating?
Please.
Okay. Purport. There are two kinds of fruitive activity. We can place the burden on the head, or we can place it on the shoulder. Actually, keeping the burden in either place is the same. The transferal, however, is taking place under the name of counteraction. In this condition, Prahlad Maharaj said that fools and rascals in the material world so gorgeously plan for bodily comfort without knowing that such arrangements, even if successful, are only Maya. People are working hard day and night for the illusory happiness of the body. This is not a way to achieve happiness. One has to get out of this material entanglement and return home back to Godhead. That is real happiness. The Vedas therefore enjoin, don't remain in the darkness of this material world. Go to the light of the spiritual world. To counteract the distress of this material body, one has to take on another distressed condition. Both situations are only illusion. There is no gain in taking on one trouble to counteract another trouble. The conclusion is that one cannot be perpetually happy as long as one exists in this material world. The only remedy is to get out of this material world altogether and return home back to Godhead.
Right.
Om Gana Termda Shagina Jana Shlakaya Chakshru Meditamina Tasmashi Bidai Namaha Namo Vishnu Padai Krishna Prastai Buddhadai Shimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Prabhati Pichani Vishesh Shlakari Chachande Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shri Guru Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So everyone can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So Lalita yesterday, she had a verse kind of similar to not yesterday, but Sunday, sorry. I say yesterday because I saw the class yesterday. But she very expertly gave this example of Henry VIII and his obsession to have a son.
Do you see Mother Sindhavani here?
Oh my gosh, Mother Sindhavani! Hare Krishna, my obeisances!
I hear in the background.
So yeah, she very expertly gave this example to show how people throughout history are trying to solve material problems by various material solutions. And I was thinking about how we all the time we're trying to materially adjust things, and the bigger the hole we dig ourselves into. So she asked the question, does anyone have this experience of trying to materially solve your problems? I'm of course it's not verbatim your question, Lalita, but basically it was like you have a story of trying to solve your problems where it didn't really work out. It gave another set of problems. And it made me think of when I was a kid. They used to have these machines at Walmart and other places where it had a bunch of stuffed animals in the machine, and it had like a little claw. And so you put some money in the machine and the claw would go down and, grab it. And then you had the hope that the claw would bring up your chosen stuffed animal and then deliver it to you for the price of a quarter. So I remember when I was a kid, they had this one stuffed animal of Tasmanian devil, you know, and I wanted this stuffed animal so bad that, you know, I kept asking my father for quarters. And every time it would go down and it would pick up the animal and then let go and come back up. And then sometimes it'd go down and pick up the stuffed animal and then lift halfway up and then drop it and then and then do something like that. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Has anyone done that before? Yeah. Yeah. So after a certain point, my dad looked at me and said, I've spent $6 trying to get you this animal. I could have just bought it for you for less than half the price that we've spent trying to get it out. You know, but that's how the game is set up. It's rigged to make us think, oh, you know, if I just adjust the claw this way or that way and push the button in the correct way, it's gonna pick up the stuffed animal in the right way and I'm going to win. But really, actually, these games are rigged to make you spend more money than what the prize is actually worth. I think the fairs work in similar ways. And so that was my story of, you know, trying to get this thing, thinking I'm going to enjoy, but in the end, ultimately ending up spending more money than what it was worth and not ending up with the actual thing. And then another, also, I was talking with Mukunda yesterday, and you know, we were discussing about different different things we need to do, you know, different things that need resolving here and programs that we need to start to keep steady. And you know, we've sat in a lot of meetings, you know, with the management and stuff to talk about how we can go forward from here and what's practical for us and all that. And we were just talking about, you know, this thing and that thing. And I looked at him and I said, you know what? Everywhere you go, there's some set of problems. Everywhere you go. But you know what I have never heard in every single meeting we've sat in where it's talked about we need someone to do this service, we need someone to do that service, we need someone to bring boga, we need someone to do an arti. I've never heard anyone say we need someone to take care of Tulsi. No, Tulsi just sits in her pot looking green like always. I mean, you put Tulsi in the pot here. She just stays looking green, stays looking beautiful. You put her in the ground, you come back 2 weeks later, there's a forest. Like, of all the 99 problems we got, Tulsi Maharani is like not one. Take care of Tulsi Maharani. And I told him, I said, do you know in the US, so many temples had to have designated devotees to help take care of Tulsi to keep her looking half as good as she's looking here, and we're doing practically nothing. Like, except, I mean, of course, there's some things, but nothing compared to like what you guys are doing to keep Tulsi looking good. I mean, Tulsi's got her own greenhouse with like, you know, certain set temperatures, and you got to make sure she doesn't have bugs on her. You know, our Tulsi looks like we got 5 Damodars down here, you know, for nothing. So with every place you go, you know, like Tulsi thrives in this type of weather. So, you know, it doesn't take so much. So every place you go, you solve one problem, but you get a set of other problems. You know, which you know, even if you're a devotee, no matter what temple you go to, that's going to be the case. In the material world, that's also going to be the case. You know, it's like so with every adjustment, you're never going to end up in a situation where you're completely totally happy. It's kind of like the material world has its setting, its factory setting. Just like in the temple room right now, you guys got the AC going on, I imagine, because or you had the AC going on at some point because it's probably 115 degrees there right now, something like that, right? And and what the AC is set on, you're not supposed to touch it. There's a sign there, right? It says don't touch the AC or there's going to be some consequences. Okay, so the material world also, you can't mess with the setting of the material world. So what's the setting of the material world? Krishna explains this in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Dukkhaya avishashvitam. It's a temporary place full of miseries. So no matter what misery you counteract, there's another set of miseries to come along with it. So the Bhagavatam, very expertly, for the people of Kali Yuga, it tries to explain this to us over and over again through the process of various pastimes. So one such pastime we hear about in the 11th canto, many of you know about, is the story of Pingala and how she was a prostitute in the city of Vidya. And she's going out and that's her profession. And she's trying to earn money, looking for various men. And one night she's doing what prostitutes do. And the men are passing by and she's thinking, surely this one will come. Surely this one will come and he'll want my services. And she has this hope. This one, no, this one, no, this one, no, this one. And the night passes on and nobody's coming. And she starts to become an anxiety. But this prostitute, we may not be prostitutes by profession, but we're all in one sense prostitutes for the material world, because we're thinking, oh, I'm gonna find it here. I'm gonna find happiness here. I'm gonna find happiness there. So in some ways, we're doing the same thing, thinking, okay, this situation is going to relieve my suffering. I just need to make this adjustment. Oh, if I can just fix this one aspect of my health, everything will be okay. Or if I can just go to this place, everything will be okay. Or if we just had more people, everything would be okay. But like, no matter what you do, something will come up. And that's often what people in the world don't realize. And if you try to point this out to them, they become very upset. Like, I remember talking with my son, because he's very much into politics, and we were just talking objectively about immigration in the U.S. and it's a very hot topic, and we weren't giving like support for one thing or another. We were just talking about pros and cons of a certain situation. So we were saying, for example, like, okay, well, if a country opens its borders and lets everyone in, makes it very easy for everyone to come, what would be the potential result of that? And say, well, you might not have proper housing available for everyone, and that might result in some crime, because people in desperate situations do desperate things, especially if they're refugees. And then we're talking about, just in a nutshell, what happens if the U.S. were to take, everyone situated there illegally and just send them back to their countries? Well, prices would go up, because, like, a lot of our food and things like that are being picked by various immigrants. But, we're just talking about these situations in that type of way. And anyone overhearing our conversation started to get very upset when we presented a con for a situation for a solution that they were in favor of. And so that's how things are. People get very, very attached to thinking, okay, this situation will fix us, this situation will make us happy, and they don't see that with that comes a whole nother set of issues. And so there's this verse in the sixth canto of Bhagavatam. Narayana Parasarve Nakuta Tanchina Bibhute. And I can't remember the rest of it, but the translation, it goes like this: devotees solely engage in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. They never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees are only interested in the service of the Lord. So the way this works, as mentioned in previous classes, is that the only thing the soul can really do is desire. You can desire to serve Krishna, or you can surrender to the modes of material nature. And so the reason why trying to adjust everything by trying to adjust your material situation or material solution doesn't work when you're under the three modes of material nature is because of how the gunas work. Guna also means like rope, pulling. So you can think of like strings pulling us this way and that way. There was actually a Back to Godhead article a while ago called "Who's Pulling the Strings?" And it was like representing the gunas pulling us this way and that way like a rope. So you can imagine it like that. So with Rajagun, with the mode of passion, it's never enough for us. We're always wanting to expand. We're always wanting more, never fully satisfied. With ignorance, one is hankering, one is lamenting, one is lazy. With goodness, that's a little more illuminating, as you guys have discussed. But the problem with goodness is that you condition to a sense of happiness, and you can also develop a bit of ego because you think you're better than everyone else. And that ego can ultimately kind of drag you back down into ignorance or passion because these modes are also fighting with each other. So in that situation, you get trapped. And so this is why Prahlad Maharaj, in his prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev, he says, "O best of the great personalities, I am not afraid of material existence, for wherever I stay, I am fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and activities." And think about it, with Prahlad Maharaj, he didn't have the happiest upbringing. People want to talk about childhood trauma. Like it doesn't get worse than Prahlad Maharaj. Your father, sent you to this school, and you hated what you were learning, and then because you weren't the person your father wanted to be, then he tried to kill you in various ways, over and over and over and over again. So Prahlad Maharaj had it rough. But this is what he's saying to Lord Nrsimhadev after Lord Nrsimhadev appears. I am not afraid of all material existence, for wherever I stay, I am fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and activities. My only concern is for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, societies, and countries. I am simply concerned with love for them. And then in the very next verse, he echoes what's said in this verse. And he's talking about how, many people will go to the mountains and they'll take great vows of silence. But as for me, I don't want to be liberated alone because of what? I am convinced without Krishna consciousness, one cannot be happy, which is ultimately what's kind of said at the end of this verse. The only solution is to be Krishna consciousness. So therefore, Prahlad Maharaj says, I don't want just me to go back to Godhead. I want to bring everyone back to your lotus feet. Which is, we see this also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. When Vasudev Dutt, who's actually Prahlad Maharaj, he told Lord Chaitanya, that he wanted to take everyone's karma so that they could be liberated and then they could ultimately go back to Godhead. Because the devotee knows how this material world works, how people are struggling for happiness, and ultimately knows that without Krishna consciousness, one cannot be happy. So to put one under these modes, it's like being brainwashed type of thing. And we can see throughout history, people do this over and over again. Like you see with the Vikings. The Vikings, they're known for raiding and expanding, but no matter how far they went, it was never good enough for them. And ultimately, they got defeated. So the Bhagavatam gives us examples, of how we shouldn't be. But it also gives us very good examples as well. And in the ninth canto, there's a short story. As you guys probably know, in the ninth canto, they have these, it has these short stories like within a pastime. You don't hear about them so much, but they're good. And one of the stories is the story of Nabaga. And it's told in the same chapter as the pastime of Ambarish Maharaj. And so when Nabaga, he was at the Gurukul with his spiritual master, or he was at his spiritual master's ashram. And, he was staying there for a while, serving his spiritual master. And in the Vedic time, people would go study under the spiritual master, and then you would have the option after about 25 or so to take sannyas or to go home and become a grihasta. So Nabaga was having a very good time in the ashram, kind of like devotees. We get in the ashram, we have a very good time, and he was kind of staying there for a while, and his brothers thought, okay, he's not going to come home, and so what they did is they divided up the inheritance, amongst themselves. But what happened is that Nabaga came home. So he asked his brothers, where's my share? And they didn't want to tell him straight up. So they just told him, our father, that's your share. And so he didn't like fight with his brothers. He didn't complain and didn't try to make a big mess of it. And he went to his father and he told his father, oh, my brothers, they divided up all the land, and they said, you're my share, like you're my inheritance. His father said, they've tricked you. I cannot be your inheritance. But you see, it never says anywhere that Nabaga got, delusion, that he got like upset. And then his father told him, in a few days, these sages will come, sages of Anga, and they're going to do a sacrifice. And on a certain day, I believe it was the 6th day, they're going to forget part of this mantra. Go to them and recite to them these 2 hymns, and they're going to be so grateful for you helping them that they're going to give you the shares of the sacrifice. And because after this sacrifice, they're just going to go up to the heavenly planets. So Nabaga says, okay. So he goes to this place where the sages are doing the sacrifice. And, sure enough, like his father said, on the 6th day or whatever, they forgot. And so he gives them these 2 hymns, and they're very grateful. And then they give him the share. But then later, Lord Shiva, in the form of a black figure, comes to him and says, actually, all this, what you got belongs to me. And Nabaga just said, oh, well, my father said it was mine. And he said, let's go to your father and have him settle this. So they go back to Nabaga's father. And Nabaga's father says, actually, yeah, he's right. Ultimately, all the shares, that has to go to Lord Shiva. And so he's correct. So Nabaga just says, yes, my father says this belongs to you. You can have it. Now, keep in mind, Nabaga's just lost, his inheritance from his brothers. He doesn't have anything. But from this, Lord Shiva is so pleased that he says, because of this, I'm going to give you transcendental knowledge. And he let him keep the wealth. So in the end, Nabaga, he also got something his brothers didn't get. He got transcendental knowledge and he got to keep the wealth. So it's a perfect example of what happens, when one doesn't quarrel over situations or get too upset. When they accept, okay, this is the situation Krishna has me in, things tend to work out much more smoothly for them than one who's very desperate to make some material adjustment. And so, so ultimately, the 4th canto, story after story, it shows us that trying to adjust things in a material way doesn't really work out good in the end. So, like we see with the pastime of Anga, when he couldn't have a son, and ultimately the Brahmanas told him, we've searched and we see that you don't have any faults, but we see that you did this one thing in your past life, and for that reason you don't have the karma to have a son. Then they recommended him worship Lord Vishnu for a son, but it wasn't ultimately his karma. So even though he got the son in the end, the son was Dana. So you see, in many situations, it's much better to accept our material situation. And we see ultimately going back to Pingala, she became, a lot of anxiety, but through that anxiety, detachment rose in her heart. And she ultimately said this verse, I am such a fool that I have given up the service of that person who, being eternally situated in my heart, is actually most dear to me. That most dear one is the Lord of the universe, who is the bestower of real love and happiness, and the source of all prosperity. Although he is in my own heart, I have completely neglected him. So therefore, by the mercy of Krishna, she was a little bit introspective. And from that situation, she was able to shift her focus towards Krishna. And when she shifted her focus towards Krishna, then that's when she started to feel this happiness. Now, keep in mind, her material situation didn't change. It's not like a guy came and gave her some money. But by shifting her focus towards Krishna, we can see that by the end of this pastime, she's feeling complete happiness because she shifted her consciousness. The Avanti Brahmana tells us the same thing. There's this verse that ultimately, he comes to the conclusion, he was this person that, originally he treated everybody very badly and very rude. And then, he became renounced, and people were treating him very badly, and, not giving him proper respect and doing all these things. And ultimately, he came to the conclusion that the suffering in the material world is not due to the planets, it's not due to the body, and ultimately the conclusion that is due only to the mind, only to one's consciousness. So Pingala's example, what happens when we shift our focus towards Krishna. And we can also see when we shift our focus towards Krishna, then no matter what material situation we're in, we don't feel the pains of it as much as normally we would if we were just focusing on it. Because every situation in this material world that we end up in is ultimately meant to teach us something. But when we're in material consciousness, we're unable to see that, being covered over by the modes. We just think, okay, we start hankering and we're like, okay, I need to adjust this and I need to fix that and I need to get this going. And of course, this is not to say that we don't take care of things that need to be taken care of, but we shouldn't expect that we're going to have one solution that's going to fix everything and we're not going to have another problem come up. But with everything that comes up, if we ask ourselves this one question, how can I serve now? It immediately gets you off of the mental platform. And I've noticed this. If you're in a situation where you're very sick and even you can't get out of bed, you just ask yourself this: how can I serve now? Something will come up. Oh, I can chant. Oh, I can read. Oh, I can still hear. All these things are actually service too. And this will immediately bring your consciousness off of whatever you're going through. And maybe you're in a situation where you lose your service. Okay, how does Krishna want me to serve now? Immediately you get these realizations. Okay, I can do this. I can do that. I'm in a situation right now where we're transitioning from one temple to the other. So there have been some weeks that I haven't been able to go to the temple and do my service because all this construction is going on, and it's very hard for me to physically get around. And I was kind of feeling down. And I was like, Krishna, why do you bring me here? In Tucson, I had so much service every single day. and I had so much to do. And I was starting to think, what's happening? And then I was thought, okay, Krishna, what do you want me to do now? This is the situation I'm in. And then Prabhupada Priya messages me, oh, I need you to can you give class for me the next 6 Saturdays because I'm going to be traveling. And that day that she needed me to give class was the day that I was supposed to be doing service at the temple. I said, yes, I can do that. And so immediately Krishna came to all these things. So every situation we're in, we learn something from it if our focus is trying to serve Krishna. So also another thing is, being here, I'm developing a greater appreciation of what it's like to build a Krishna conscious community. And of course, this community, back in the day, it had a lot of people. And so I don't want to, there were devotees serving here and a lot of Prabhupada disciples that did many great things. And there are many devotees here as well. But, like with many communities, when leaders fall down, people leave. Are here, one of the problems is that people get the opportunity, they go to Europe, they go to the US. So it's lost a lot of people. So it needs to build back up again. And it's making me develop this appreciation for what all the Prabhupada disciples had to go through to even start Krishna consciousness in another place. Because before I had this theoretical appreciation. Oh yeah, they did all this great service. But when you go to a place where there's hardly anything, and you don't have much to work with, and you don't have money, and you don't have donors, and you don't really have any resources, and you need to create something out of that. And now it's on you. You just realize that how, that it's not easy, and for the people that are able to do that, it's amazing. So the appreciation has gone from more theoretical to actually no, I really appreciate all the sacrifices and everything people have gone through, everything Srila Prabhupada has gone through. Christians very mercifully showing me, not to take advantage of everything that's already established, because somebody poured gallons of blood, sweat, and tears into that. which is, ultimately, what I'm trying to do. Trying to do here, trying to get things going, trying to build up the community. This place has a lot of potential, but it needs a lot of work. It's like a beautiful Victorian house that needs serious renovations before you can live in it. So, but there's hope. And so
So
it's
Lavanga, we have about 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. So if you want, we can stop this right now. I'll start a new call and send you the link. And then if you want to make your final statements and we can have questions.
yeah, that's that. Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, so I'm gonna end this one right now and then I'm gonna make the new one and send you the link right now.
Okay.
Okay, see you in just a minute.
All right. Just a minute. All right.
Okay.